From the CEO getting axed after a billion-dollar merger between PIF and PGA Tour to his embarrassing run-ins with authorities signaling his fall, here's the real reason Greg Norman was fired from LIV Golf. The partnership between the Saudi Public Investment Fund, the big boss behind LIV Golf, and the PGA Tour sent shockwaves through the golfing community. It's not every day that PIF's ready to throw $1 billion into a brand new commercial venture. And when that venture is controlled by the PGA Tour itself, talk about a shocker. But see, the PGA Tour Chief Operating Officer Ron Price made the spicy reveal that if the agreement with the PIF goes through, Norman will be shown the door. Price even went on record to say, if we reach a definitive agreement, we won't have a place for that type of position. Some people are saying that it's not all bad news for the golf champion. Ron did mention that there's a chance Greg could transition into a different role, but only if everything falls into place. So, maybe he won't be completely out of the picture, but that's definitely a shakeup in the works. Since this whole controversy got public though, poor Norman's already been pushed to the sidelines as the face of LIV. He was even invited to testify on Tuesday, but said no. And if you're wondering testify to what exactly, this scandal's brewing so hot that a congressional subcommittee got involved. Tour officials were called to spill the beans under oath, and as if that wasn't enough, the Justice Department's sniffing around suspecting potential antitrust violations. This is one hot mess that's got everyone's mind spinning. Turns out there were talks about Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy getting their own LIV golf teams, courtesy of the Saudis. But that plan never actually made it to the players themselves. Now, the subcommittee chairman, Senator Richard Blumenthal's all worked up about the Saudi investment in American sports, and no one's surprised. After all, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is one controversial figure with a line of shady cover-ups of human rights abuses. This politics and sports crossover only thickened with the entry of the Republicans on the committee, and let me tell you, the grand old party's taking a very different stance. They think the PGA Tour is a serious threat facing the almighty PIF. Not to mention, the PIF controls a mind-boggling $600 billion in assets, which is like 500 times more than what the tour is worth. This drama reached a whole new level when Price and PGA Tour Policy Board member Jimmy Dunn testified in front of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigatio S. Throw some spicy documents in the mix and this saga got crazier. Turns out these guys were negotiating a side agreement to kick Norman out of his CEO throne at LIV, but your man Senator Richard had no time for all the hush-hush. He straight up asked Ron if Greg was out of a job. The COO's reply made it clear that the LIV CEO's gig was toast, but the senator did not let them off easy. The seasoned lawyer grilled Price about the Saudis' contribution to this new deal. Like, why didn't they just look for other funding options? I mean, they could have come up with something other than relying on these Saudi deep pockets. Their response? Well, if not them, then someone else would have bagged the deal. And it's not far off from the truth, considering how KSA's a major player in the field now. But there's also no denying that the Saudis and their equity ownership interest will be pulling all the strings. On top of that, there aren't any signs that Congress is going to swoop in and save the day. The tour might just be getting away with this Saudi business venture scot-free, but fingers crossed. Though the biggest question here is, what's the future of the game looking like with all these shakeups? The big shot governor of PIF, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, is one name in the new picture now. He's the mastermind behind this controversial multi-billion-dollar deal that he claims makes financial sense. When pressed about whether he expects to rake in some serious cash, the guy bluntly replied, "That's the whole idea." At least he's honest that it's all about the money and not the sport with these top men. After all, they threw truckloads of money at players to join their rebel tour. Take Pat Perez, for example. This guy's got one top 10 finish in 27 major starts, and yet he played in 8 LIV tournaments in 2022 and walked away with a cool $8 million. He's not the only one pinching himself in disbelief. LIV tried to sell everyone this team concept, acting like it was their unique selling point. But it flopped big time. They couldn't attract any brand sponsors to save their lives. As a commercial venture, LIV makes about as much sense as trying to sink a 6-inch putt with a driver. All Yasser had to do was sweet-talk Jay Monahan from the PGA Tour and convince him that it was better to throw money into this collaboration instead of wasting it on LIV and fighting legal battles. So y'all can expect the 14 events scheduled in the next few months to vanish without a trace. Imagine this. Valderrama clashes with the PGA's Rocket Mortgage Classic, and the very next week, LIV is back at the Centurion Club while the tour hosts the John Deere Classic. The timing couldn't be worse. To top that, People are looking at the British Masters and Made in Himmerland tournament at the exact same time. The DP World Tour's got real nerve. See, at a time of supposed collaboration, shouldn't the Golf League know better than to try and steal the limelight from their new partners? Plus, one of the major concerns the DP World and PGA Tours had about LIV was that they were touching their turf in Europe and North America. No one can blame them at this point, and that's not all about DP, formerly known as the European Tour. The DP World Tours also stirred up controversy with its plans for next year's schedule. Chief Executive Keith Pelley hinted at major changes in 2024 and teased the release of a framework at the upcoming Scottish Open. But these discussions are far from settled, and tensions are running high. The big headline is the PGA's so-called merger with LIV. And let's be honest, it feels like a clear win for Saudi Arabia. DP's all eager to attract high-profile LIV golfers and boost the quality of their fields. But the catch is, the chances of PIF completely ghosting the league seem slim. They've been pretty vocal about its importance, so a complete U-turn's not a good look for them anymore. They'll likely have to find a way to accommodate LIV, possibly scheduling events at the beginning or end of the year to avoid any conflicts. As for the choice of location, just look at the success they had in Adelaide. So Saudi Arabia itself seems set as the #1 choice. Monahan even hinted at exploring team golf, but the details are scarce. And while some LIV players might want to return to traditional tours, it won't be an easy transition for everyone. Players like Ian Poulter, Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, and Henrik Stenson, who already resigned from the DP World Tour, are frankly looking at limited playing options. Unless LIV continues in some shape or form, everyone's got contracts to consider. So Norman isn't the only one who's going to find himself left out in the cold soon. Though in his case, some people are pointing out, the Kiwi's job has been hanging by a thread long before this controversial merger even entered the scene. The PGA Tour made it crystal clear that they wanted nothing to do with Greg. Remember when he downplayed the alleged murder of Jamal Khashoggi by Saudi Arabian authorities? He legit said, "We all make mistakes." This guy's got a knack for putting his foot in his mouth, like the time he wrote an open letter threatening the PGA Tour commissioner. He called out Monahan for banning anyone from playing in the Saudi-backed league. Honestly, it was a pretty gutsy move, bringing up player choice about where to play and where not, but hold up. If he'd been a little more on the patriotic side, a firm stance against the kingdom might have helped his career. Not to mention, human rights violations and murdering journalists are serious allegations. And let's not forget Greg's flip-flopping attitude. One day he's ready to go to war with the PGA Tour, claiming he's the savior of professional golf, only to shift gears the very next day, going on and on about working together. This guy just can't make up his mind. Then there are the grand declarations about his league and player moves. But guess what? Most of those promises turned out to be nothing but hot air. And there you have it, folks. From his embarrassing run-ins with authorities signaling his fall to the CEO getting the axe after a billion-dollar merger between PIF and PGA Tour. That's the real reason Greg Norman was fired from LIV Golf.